When you look back at the season from hell that the Fever had, none of us expected them to be in this situation. None of us expected them to be winning a very close Game 3.
Stop scrolling. Indiana submitted 11 players for the playoffs, even though the WNBA allows 12. Why leave a chair empty? Unless you're saving it for someone. What if that someone is Caitlin Clark? Tonight, we're breaking down the only realistic path that puts Clark back on the floor if the Fever reach the finals. The rule people keep whispering about. The risks the front office would be taking, and how even a limited Clark would flip a finals matchup on its head.
Quick challenge before we dive in. If you're the Fever GM, do you activate Clark at 80% for the finals? Yes or no? Drop your call below and tell me your numbers. 60, 70, 80%? Where's your line? All right, context. This season wasn't supposed to last this long for Indiana. A young roster, bumps, bruises, and the kind of inconsistency that usually sends a team home early. Then Clark's groin injury hit, and the national narrative turned the page. Great crowds, fun run, see you next year. Only the Fever didn't fold. They tightened the rotation, punched above their weight, and played their way to the brink of the finals.
Names you must credit when you tell this story. Aaliyah Boston taking a bigger slice of the offense and fighting for everything in the paint. Kelsey Mitchell turning tough shot-making into momentum swings. Natasha Howard and Odyssey Sims steadying possessions when games got choppy. Sophie Cunningham injecting energy, toughness, and just enough chaos to bother the best wings in the league. That's resilience you can feel through the screen. Now, the question that keeps Indiana buzzing. If this team is one step from a championship series without Caitlin Clark, what happens with her? Let's rewind the injury. Groin issues are nasty. Part strength, part flexibility, and cruelly sensitive to game speed. Timelines float. 2 weeks for mild strains, 6 or more for anything worse. Clark's regular season ended. She logged only around a baker's dozen games. Wild when you remember the tidal wave of attention she brought. Buildings sold out, national windows popped. The Fever were must-watch TV. Then the pause button. Rehab, recovery, radio silence on full-speed practice work. Enough time has passed that you can at least ask the question. If the body feels good, could she come back for a few targeted minutes? Here's where the conversation shifts from ankles and ice baths to the binder. The rules. Standard playoff protocol is simple. When you submit your postseason roster at the end of the regular season, it locks. No hardship deals, no 7-day band-aids, no new free agents flying in on red eyes. That's your squad. But buried in the language is the door people keep peeking through. Teams can activate players already under contract who are listed as inactive, players on injury lists, maternity leave, or suspension, if a slot exists and if league procedures are followed. Key phrase, already under contract. Not a ringer, not a late season signing. Your player. Clark checks that box. That's why the internet won't let this go. The Fever don't need to scour a G League list. They'd simply be moving a contracted, inactive player to active, if allowed, if a spot's open, if the team and league sign off. Big stack of ifs, but not zero. And then there's the eyebrow raiser. Indiana went into the playoffs with 11 players. Why gamble with one fewer body in a meat grinder bracket? Depth matters. Fouls stack up. Whistles get weird. Yet they left the 12th seed empty. Is that a strategic tell? Maybe it's cap management. Maybe it's belief in chemistry. Maybe it's nothing. Or maybe, just maybe, it's keeping one path unobstructed in case the question becomes more than a rumor. I'm not saying it's a master plan. I'm saying you don't ignore a breadcrumb this obvious. Let's talk risk, because this isn't a video game. Bringing a star back cold is a roll of the dice. Conditioning lags. Timing is half a beat off. Groins re-flare under playoff speed and lateral slides. You also risk bumping a role player who's been in the foxhole the last few weeks. Chemistry isn't math. You can't just add talent and expect harmony. Now the reward. Even at 60 to 70%, Clark does 3 things that are murder on scouting reports. 1. gravity. Her range pulls a defender, and often a help defender, 2 steps higher than they want to be. Lanes crack open for Boston dives and Mitchell rim runs. 2. Vision. She changes the geometry of a possession before the pass even leaves her hands. Weak side shooters get cleaner catch and shoots simply because eyes are glued to her handle. 3. Pacing. She weaponizes early offense. Long rebounds or quick outlets become advantage breaks, where the first pass is already the second action.
Against a powerhouse like the Aces, that's not a cosmetic tweak. Without Clark, teams can trench the paint, hug Boston on the catch, and dare Indiana's guards to win 4 out. With Clark, you can't camp. You have to stretch, tag, scramble, and live with the fire drill that follows. Even 10 to 15 purposeful minutes could swing a quarter, and quarters swing series. Pattern interrupt? What about defense? Fair. Clark isn't locking up MVP wings, but her presence lets Indiana play tempo. Turn defensive rebounds into organized chaos. Manufacture 3 extra high-quality shots a half. In playoffs, 3 shots can be the difference between nice run and banner. Still, reality check. Reports suggest she hasn't been practicing full speed with the group during this push. If her conditioning isn't at playoff sprint, cut, stop, repeat level, the risk jumps. The medical staff's job is to plan for 5 years, not 5 headlines. You don't burn long-term equity for a short-term lottery ticket unless you believe the ticket is more than a fantasy. Here's the layer that makes executives sweat. Optics. The WNBA office understands exactly what Caitlin Clark means to business. Tickets, windows, sponsorship interest that doesn't need a discount code. A finals with Clark returning from injury would be a cultural tentpole. That's good for the ecosystem. It also makes the decision heavier. If she's cleared, is the league comfortable with the precedent? If she's borderline, does the league nudge the brakes? Quiet approvals and quiet denials exist in every pro league. The calculus here includes brand, safety, and the message you send to 36 rosters worth of players who also grind through injuries. Let's pivot to game theory inside the Fever Room. Option A. You hold the line. Keep Clark inactive. Celebrate the run for what it is and protect your franchise cornerstone. You build the mythology of patience. You sell, "We were this close without her, imagine next year." Option B. You craft a micro roll. Not savior minutes, not 32 possessions of heliocentric offense. A scripted, minutes-capped burst with 2 lineups she knows cold. Think end of quarters, ATOs where her gravity buys you an extra screening angle, 5 outsets designed to keep her off the most violent cuts. You predefine her matchups. You predefine your substitution triggers. If stress test metrics blip, she sits. Option C, you swing big. If she's greenlit and looks sharp in controlled scrimmage, you unleash the full package. That's the highest upside, and the one that will make trainers sleep at the arena. Which would you pick? Remember, this isn't a March exhibition. It's the WNBA Finals pressure cooker. Every possession is tape-bombed, dissected, and countered by elite coaches in real time. Let's storyboard the on-court chain reaction if she's back. Aces load to Boston? Great. Clark lifts weak side help, Boston gets deep seals, the doubles arrive late. Aces switch to zone looks. Clark's stretch threes and quick skip reads force them to toggle back. Push in transition off defensive glass. Clark becomes the hit-ahead hub. Hull sprints to the dunker spot. Mitchell trails for pitch-ahead threes. Boston rumbles for early post. Even if the shot doesn't fall, the threat forces conservative floor balance from Vegas, dulling their own transition teeth. Don't get it twisted. Clark at 70% doesn't make Indiana a favorite, but it raises the Fever's ceiling from needs everything to break right to live underdog with real leverage points. So where does that leave us? Technically possible.
logistically thorny, medically delicate, strategically fascinating. The roster math offers a path, the under-contract activation lane that exists for inactive players, plus that conspicuous empty 12th slot. The basketball case offers a temptation, gravity, vision, pacing, and a finals matchup that rewards shooters who make defenses uncomfortable. The human case offers caution. Groins are unforgiving, chemistry is fragile, and legacies last longer than trophy parades. If you're in the Fever war room, you ask 3 questions in this order. 1. Can she play, medically and conditioning-wise, without materially increasing re-injury risk? If the answer isn't a confident yes, close the folder. 2. Will her micro roll help more than it hurts the current rhythm? If you can't script 2 lineups and 2 sets where she's additive from the jump, you're guessing. 3. Should we, given the signal it sends the locker room and the precedent it sets for this franchise's decision-making? Stars earn leeway. Teams earn trust by protecting stars from themselves. Here's my on-air stance, and I want yours in the comments. If cleared, I activate her for a tight, pre-planned, minutes-capped role, not a savior. A spacer playmaker used like an NFL team uses a speedster. Stress the defense, change the math, force a different coverage in the 5 possessions that swing a game. If there's pain, discomfort, or any compensation pattern, shut it down instantly. Series be damned. Future first. Because the truth is simple. Whether she steps on the floor or not, Caitlin Clark already changed the WNBA this season. She bent attention. She expanded conversations. She brought millions of new eyes to the product. If she returns in a finals cameo, it would be one of the coolest plot twists in recent basketball memory. If she doesn't, the Fever's climb still stands as a blueprint for culture, development, and belief. Your turn. You have the binder, the risk report, and the chance to tilt a finals. Are you playing it safe? Or are you taking the micro bet on history? Tell me your call. Then hit like if you value deep dive breakdowns over hot takes. Subscribe for more high retention stories that respect your time, and share this with the Fever fan who keeps texting you, "Is she coming back?" every 12 hours. Either way, Indiana didn't leave that 12th seat empty by accident. And until the series tips, that chair is the loudest thing in the room.